Oh, there you go. Now you're my level.
No, no, you're like taller than me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like this.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't like this.
Who's tall today?
I don't like this. Like, literally, I feel like I'm looking up at you, which I don't have an issue with.
Hi, Brian Fink.
This is like all awkward. I
Brian
feel like
Fink.
I'm 2 feet tall. Can you like lower your chair, please?
No, I kind of like. No, I kind of like this.
Oh my God. I may just to give you a warning, and maybe it's good that you're sitting that high. I may vomit all over the place.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to give you that warning.
We're gonna just keep you in the frame for today because I don't need all that energy or smell.
I just need to give you that warning because,
I'm good.
like, I am with all the pressure changes. We were just talking about this, about how you sound like a mouse, which I don't know how that is the voice of a mouse.
A raspy mouse. What do I sound like?
Like, if I see a mouse running across the street,
They sound raspy.
do they really?
Yes, they sound annoying and raspy. Like
I picture it being like a high-pitched voice, not like raspy. That's better. There's a mouse. There's a mouse. But with all the weather pressure changes we've been having, like, I am nauseous and my head is bothering me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I heard. So
Yes.
Sarah told me that you were giving her crap because you said there's no such thing as barometric pressure headaches.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, you did.
No,
Yeah, you did.
no.
She had a headache, and she was talking about how it was because of the barometric pressure changes.
Yeah.
And you were like, that's not a thing. Or Maura was like, that's not a thing.
I was about to say, get it right. Get it right.
That's not a thing. Wait, I don't even know how to. I was going to like break into some Spanish, but like my brain just stopped when I even tried.
You can do it.
It didn't even happen. All right, so we got last night's episode of This Is Us to talk about. Really good episode last night.
Yeah, it was.
I have to admit something that I've never admitted before,
This will be fun.
and it'll happen on this episode of the Totally Spoiled podcast.
Okay.
And have you watched The Resident at all?
No, but I've heard about it. Is it good?
Yeah, I think CT had mentioned The Resident a while ago, and I've
She
caught
might have.
I've caught like a few episodes, but I caught Monday's episode, and I'll tell you all about it coming up.
Okay.
First of all, thoughts and prayers with everybody dealing with the California fires. I
Jeez,
mean,
man.
holy hell. Like the pictures and the videos are insane. And I think I saw like 435 homes have been destroyed.
Are you serious?
Like I saw this video that I actually posted on my blog of this family escaping the fires, and they're driving through it, and they're praying as they're driving through it, and his phone like shows all around, and it's
Like, what's going on?
and it's all fire. It is insane. And then I saw another video of this woman that was escaping, and she went under an overpass, like kind of into a tunnel.
Yeah.
And when she came out of the tunnel, there were sparks and fire everywhere. Like, what? It just blows my mind.
I don't know if this is a silly question, and it's obviously not the main focal point in all this, but just because it's relevant to this story. How does that work with vehicles? Doesn't that catch the vehicle on fire too, or does it depend like the speed and maybe specifically what inside the vehicle it may or may not catch to that'll set it on fire?
Yeah, I think that's what the case would be.
Because I feel like, I mean, either way, you're going to try to escape it and make it alive,
Right.
or not try to escape and still not make it alive. So how?
Yeah,
I don't know. That just
I
sounds
think
really
it's-
dangerous.
Well,
but,
I mean, I'm taking those chances.
right.
If there's a fire that's looming, I'm hopping my car and trying to get as far as I
take that
can.
chance.
Yeah, she wasn't driving through fire. There was fire all around her, and there were sparks hitting her car. And I guess it's just a situation of, yeah, if a spark hits the right spot, then I guess it could start a fire.
Right.
I mean,
No,
you're
it
taking those
definitely can,
chances.
yeah.
And I saw somebody post talking about what's the first thing you would grab in a fire? Like, if you had to escape a fire, what's the first thing you would grab? And it really, like, I started down a rabbit hole. But of course,
Yeah.
first thing is my cats. Like, and I've thought about this before, which I guess is kind of dark, but I've thought about it because my situation, so I've got an upstairs, downstairs,
Mm-hmm.
and I sleep with my door open. I know you mentioned you sleep with your door closed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way I
Oh,
can
yeah.
do that. And then the
I'm gonna
cat's
leave that alone.
the cat's carrier is in the guest bedroom, which is across the hall.
Uh-huh.
And the cats, if there's anything crazy, they always go under the bed. So this is a situation that I'm thinking about. If, God forbid, I wake up and there's a fire, what is my course of action? Because then I would have to run across the hallway to get their carrier, because there's no way I'm going to be able to carry them out.
I'm like having flashbacks of like This Is Us all over again
Yeah,
when their house caught on fire.
right.
Because they had to go across, or correction, Jack had to go across and grab
that's
the kids.
that's kind of the
that would-
same. That's what I'm thinking.
You'd
And
have to
then
go across and grab your kids.
how do I get under my bed while all this is going on to try to grab them? Like, this is stuff that I've thought about. So I've thought about
Yeah.
moving their carrier into my bedroom so that if, again, I hope this never comes up, but God forbid, if there's a fire, how do I get them? Like, oh my God. Like,
And not just a fire. I mean, it's any emergency. What if, like, someone, I mean, not to say, I don't know, I was going to say not to say you'd take your cats or wouldn't take your cats. What that would be like if someone tries to break in or if there's harm going on in your house. But now more of a fire is like where you need to evacuate.
Quickly.
Yeah, an evacuation situation.
And I'll tell you this, Aiden
Right.
and Tucker are not about being quick. Like, if there's something going on, they're like, get away from us. We're staying over here. I'm like, no, you need to come with me now. They're like,
Listen.
nope. That's how I imagine it going. I'm like, guys, we have to get out of here. They're like, nope, we're staying under the bed.
God.
This is the stuff that goes on in my
Little
head.
nuggets.
But anyways,
the
our thoughts on
struggle's
prayers.
real.
I mean, I just hope that, I think last I saw it was like 45% contained. Yeah, it's just insane. Let's do some spoiling.
Yes. Let's do
At
it.
Brian Fink, at April on Air. Thank you so much for following and subscribing to the Totally Spoiled podcast. Did you see the video that I posted about Alexa with the smart speaker?
I'm kind of obsessed. That's so neat.
Isn't that
That's
so cool?
So neat.
That you can literally just go, hey, Alexa, play the Totally Spoiled podcast on iHeartRadio. Boom.
Look, that's iHeartRadio for you, and that's also 2018 for you. I'm kind of in liking of it. So just saying.
Episode 38
Woo!
of the Totally Spoiled podcast, brought to you by Samson. By the way, I used the Samson Go mic. We had the folks from the Seminole Hard Rock in.
Yep.
And I was doing some videos with them, and I used the mics. I mean, the thing is, I go on about it every week. They are a sponsor, but I literally love the equipment. You need to,
It's-
take some of the equipment and start
I was
using
going to say,
it.
it's like that one product you fully believe in and endorse it 100% of the way because you believe in it.
Exactly.
No,
The
it's
Samson
great.
Go mic. Create your own podcast or take your social videos to the next level. Shouts out to Darian, who always listens to the Totally Spoiled podcast.
We love you.
They were here dropping off the brand new Seminole Hard Rock Tampa calendars, and she's like, oh my God,
Which
first
is
of all,
great.
yeah, oh, beautiful
They're so
calendar.
great.
And 100% of the proceeds goes to local charities, which is amazing. But she was
They're
here,
on it.
she's like,
They're on it.
can I see the Totally Spoiled podcast room? I'm like, it's nothing special. It's literally a
Yes,
closet.
it is.
I mean, it is the most incredible podcast room ever.
It's magic.
And then she came to see you, which was awesome.
No, she's great. Big kudos to her. So she just recently got a promotion and is just killing the game. She's everywhere. Like, I think, or we think that we're everywhere. I mean, the girl is really everywhere.
Yeah.
So big kudos to you, homegirl.
Yeah, I don't know how, and like Nikki doing it before. I mean, Nikki
With
was
kids
all
as
my
well. With
God.
kids.
Just so insane.
It's like
how
moms
busy.
in media or single moms in media. It just blows my mind. It's just
Single
crazy.
moms in
In
any-
general.
Oh my God! God bless single moms for doing what they do.
Yeah, my mom basically was, because even when my dad was around, my God, he was always traveling for work, and I was a handful. So,
Doesn't surprise me in the
Was.
least.
Was.
Is
was. was.
what's is in Spanish? S.
Oh my God, good job. Wait, did you
Thanks.
take a wild guess?
No, I know French, and it's
Oh.
close enough.
Okay, Canadian.
Thanks. So last night's episode of This Is Us, we learned a little bit more about the necklace, and yet we still know absolutely nothing about the necklace.
I was about to say, do you want to give me some insight on what we learned about it? Because I just think it got more confusing.
Completely confusing.
It just got more confusing.
Because it's passed through. We saw the woman making it.
Yeah.
And then we saw it pass from like multiple people, and then on the body, and then she takes it off one of the bodies.
Right. Were we also supposed, like, way backtracking, like how it first kind of started with this episode? Do we know who that guy was that took the necklace and was like, is this something like, what do you say that a girl would like?
No, I think it was just a random soldier.
Okay, I was going to say, we weren't supposed to really know the backstory behind that.
I think it was just showing, like, how many people it's... Yeah. Like, he picked it up, walks into the bar trying to impress a girl. The girl is with another soldier. Yeah. Leaves it at the bar. Somebody else picks it up. He gets killed. Then she picks it up off of the dead body. I mean, that necklace better turn into something good, because the backstory on this necklace is insane.
It's extensive.
They're spending a lot of time on it, which, speaking of backstories, I am loving these flashbacks and all of these backstories.
It's great. We'll get more into that to even see the backstory behind Jack and Rebecca's road trip, which absolutely. I think was beautiful.
But just everything, the way and Milo is killing it with the development. His character development, Milo is incredible. Like, they all are. Like, Mandy Moore is incredible too, but Milo is killing the game.
Yeah, isn't it? He's just his own person. His character is so incredibly well played that it makes you believe that there's actually people like him in this world.
And it would make me believe that he is Jack.
That is him. Like, no separation between reality and character.
And the character is so deep. Like, there's so many levels to it. And you see how different it is from his happy times, from him in Vietnam trying to deal with his brother, from him just being smitten being with Rebecca on the road trip.
Right.
And to him crying.
That scene, towards the end, I know we're going to be like,
we're all over the place.
We're totally going to be squirreling right now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, towards the very end of the episode, like the last 5 minutes, and that scene where he's literally falling apart, like bawling.
While she's singing.
While she's singing was so real, so pure, that I'm not going to lie, I kind of was like in shock for a second, and I had like a tear or two come out too, because it's like she's singing and she sounds so angelic, and in that moment, if you're paying attention to the lyrics of the song too, that is what gets Jack.
Absolutely.
Probably his connection to her in that moment kind of solidifying that more, but also what she's singing is... How do you say it in English? It's
I don't know what you're trying to say.
It hits home for him.
Okay,
it hits home for him.
He totally relates to it.
He relates to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was watching the after show, and they had Mandy Moore in it, and they were talking. They were talking with like the composers of the song, and they were mentioning about how it fits both characters. It not only fits Rebecca because she doesn't know where she's at right now in her life.
No, at all.
She wants to leave and go to L.A. and then gets crushed in L.A.
Right.
And it also relates to Jack and all the stuff that he's been dealing with.
So beautiful.
Did you notice, and this was incredible, when she started singing and I heard the melody, did you notice that was the song they had been playing through the entire episode, but as the instrumental? Yes!
No.
Yes! Go back and watch it.
Did you read this in some other article? Or
Nothing.
Are you just like, ding?
All right up here. All right up here. Right up there. I know it's a little soft. That's my soft spot right there. I was dropped as a baby multiple times. But I just noticed it. There is so much truth to that statement. Like literally people walking into your office and scaring you, and the first thing you do is drop to the floor. But
it all makes sense.
The second that Mandy Moore started singing that song, I was like, holy crap, this is the instrumental that they've been playing throughout the episode. Go back and watch it. It like, And I'm
Okay.
going to feel real stupid if it's not the case. But I'm telling you,
This
the
is
second
us. You are really good at responding to your Instagram messages. Please let us know. This is very important. And if Fink is wrong,
No,
I need to literally have this documented.
I
Just saying.
don't need them to. I mean, it would be nice for them to respond, but I don't need them to respond. I can just go back and watch the episode and see that I was right because I'm right.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling you, the
Okay.
song that she sings, they're playing throughout the episode. It's like an instrumental kind of in the background. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And
Okay.
you're talking about the trip to LA. Is there anything more awkward than Jack and Rebecca in the early days? Like, they've only known each other for like a week, and they're in the car like, so, how about this weather? It's like,
So
I brought a turkey sandwich.
that's what I was about to say. Her line was so cheesy where she's like, so I hope you like turkey. I packed us turkey sandwiches. And what'd she say? We're just two turkey lovers or something like that,
And he's
right?
like, yeah, I love turkey.
I was doing the twirtle. I was doing the twirtle. I was doing that awkward turtle emoji literally as I'm sitting on the couch. I'm like, oh my God, I want to break the ice for them so bad. I'm like, I can't.
Is that what you do? Like when you're watching?
I'm like,
Yeah, it was so awkward.
right?
But I mean, you figure you're taking a road trip to the West Coast after a week of knowing each other.
Was it even a week?
I think that's what they
Barely,
said
right?
was a week of knowing each
Yeah,
other.
I'm like, who does that? Like in real life,
No
who
one.
does that?
No one.
I'm trying to think. I've done some like crazy things. They're not like woo, like crazy, but just like I like spontaneity.
Right.
But I'm trying to think. Have I ever done something completely like that?
And I got to be honest, that's stuff that I would love to do because I'm very
Yeah.
old fashioned. And I think
Yeah.
you can get away with that back in the old days. But now it's like, if you're asking somebody to go on a trip with you after a week, it's like, whoa, slow down. Slow down.
So it's really funny. Side note, but it's relevant to this. My good friend was talking to her other good friend that lives in Gainesville. And she's kind of in between either going back to nursing or she's kind of having a Rebecca moment, figuring out what her direction is professionally. So she's just kind of figuring stuff out right now. And she's telling my friend, hey, so remember when I went to Mexico 2 years ago? And she only went to Mexico it was a weekend. It was literally a day and a half.
Okay.
And she met this one guy there that also was in Mexico, but he went there from New Zealand. So she came from Gainesville, Florida. He came from New Zealand. Apparently, they somewhat keep in touch. Like maybe they might shoot each other a message like on a quarterly basis. And she's saying that, so I think his name was actually Mike. So Mike said we should take a trip to go visit his family in New Zealand. Like it's hours away from where he lives in New Zealand. But inviting her, and he was like, "I'll pay for the plane ticket. I'll pay for everything." And the friend, was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it." Would you do that? They met for a day and a half in Mexico. He's inviting her. They don't keep in touch like religiously. It's just kind of whatever.
So it's not a continuous keep in touch after 2 years?
It hasn't been. And then my best friend was like, are you crazy? You're not going to have cell phone service. You're not going to know anybody. What if he's trying to kidnap you? Like, how funny is it that's where we're at now? It's like, would you just
Like I'm
would
loving
you just go?
I'm loving watching this road that you're taking yourself on. Like this story.
Would you do that? Because I'm not gonna lie, the thought would cross my mind. But I'm also a traveler. I love to travel. I also love to travel alone. I've done it a lot, not necessarily by choice.
Right.
And I'm traveling less by myself more now, frequently, give or take.
Yeah, but a while ago you went on a safari by yourself.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the trip you took by yourself?
Thailand.
Yeah, exactly.
Thailand. So, I mean, I'll still do that, but it's just because before it was like, okay, like whatever, you know.
But now you got to worry about somebody cutting you up while you're in New Zealand.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Not trying to sound morbid, but as a guy, or even like, let's say, like you or me,
Right.
Like, would you take that guy up on that offer?
So if
It sounds nice. I would think
it does.
about it.
It does.
But would I really?
So if
Should I?
If we had
Should
kept
we?
in touch for 2 years continuously and it had been like a long distance relationship, then yeah, I could see taking that trip. But only meeting somebody for a day in Mexico? I don't know. When's the last time they talked? Like, how little do they talk?
Well, they talked like a month ago, and it was to kind of like come up with this plan.
Right, but before that, like when you say they don't really...
maybe quarterly to maybe be a little bit
Yeah,
more fair,
no.
like every other month or something like that.
No.
Right?
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like,
wouldn't either.
Like it's definitely shiny, and yeah, I'd love to
Right,
do
it's
it.
like, ooh, shiny toy,
Yeah.
but realistically,
But that's a little crazy.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I don't know
side
about that.
note,
Yeah.
it's funny because you say like that makes sense and it was fine back in the day. Like now, like, do I even really trust getting in the car with you to go 10 minutes down the road to the movie
that's what
theater
sucks.
on a first date?
Like, I'm very
don't know.
old-fashioned where I would love to, after a week, say, hey, let's go on a road trip and get to know each other and go off to L.A., But nowadays, you're like, well, if I do that, she's going to go, well, I'm moving too fast in this, and you got to, like, think about this stuff now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, no, this
It's
sucks.
crazy.
One thing
It's
I don't have
crazy.
to think about is never eating bat. Ever.
Oh, I'm like,
Eating bat.
where are you going at with this?
Ever.
But is that
Ever.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, technically, it's.
I guess in Vietnam it's a thing? Like bat.
Yeah,
Like legit bat.
we'll leave Zoe to do all the adventurous eating, like Kevin said. And I'm not doing that.
And thank you to
I've
Zoe
done-
for doing that, because now I'm never going to eat bat.
I've done. What have I eaten? I've eaten shark. I've eaten crocodile. I've eaten crickets.
Have you done monkey brain?
Okay.
That's a delicacy. Yeah, I don't remember what movie that's from, but
Is that
but I know
really a
it's
thing?
Yeah, I think it's a thing.
I've eaten gizzards and lizards. No, not lizards. Wait,
Gizzards?
I
Gizzards
love,
and
I love gizzards and liver. Oh,
Oh,
good for-
liver. You said gizzards and lizards.
'Cause I
Like
think
Dr.
I
Seuss
I
over
think
there.
You know what though? I think I probably have though. I think I
What?
have.
No.
What? What?
Now, if it's like a grilled cheese, then yeah, that's about as adventurous as I get.
Here we go. Chicken nuggets and
Now,
mac and cheese.
Which is funny because they talked about that last
I know.
night. Kevin talked about growing up. I'm like, oh my God, that's me.
Is he Canadian too?
Very beige. Gabby always talks about that I'm very beige. Like,
Really?
Like
So
turkey.
that's a term.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You just
Very
like
beige.
beige stuff, like chicken tenders, like turkey, just very plain beige. That's me.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I wondered. I was like, is that like a term people use? Because I've
Well,
never
no,
heard
it's
it.
talking about the blandness.
Right. No, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes
absolutely.
sense. But I've never heard it actually referenced like in real life. But that's funny.
Kevin was describing it. I'm like, yep, that's me, and I got no problem with it. Hi, my name is Brian Fink, and I'm beige. I'm cool with it. So, was last night the first time that they have discussed sexual abuse
With Zoe?
with Zoe?
Yes.
But not just with Zoe. Is it the first time in all the seasons they've ever touched on sexual abuse?
Did you know this? Like Zoe very, 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 very lightly highlighted on it with Randall's wife. You can tell like, this was episodes ago, but it wasn't directly like said my father has sexually abused me, but you knew that there was a history of abuse with her.
So I don't remember that.
You know?
No.
Yeah, you knew there was something along those lines, just not that it was the dad or to what extent. I mean, you didn't know the dad lived in China. I didn't know that until like yesterday either.
No, they developed
know?
her character a lot last night.
Oh yeah. So you knew there was some of that kind of going on, but not to that extent. And in regards to it being spoken about with other characters, I don't
think anybody. I don't think they've
abuse. Yes, like with Jack's dad and the mom, but
absolutely.
sexual.
I don't think it's
abuse.
ever been like we've touched on so many topics like
Right.
physical abuse, mental abuse, alcoholism.
Right.
I mean, they've touched on every depression, anxiety. They've touched on everything.
Everything.
I think this is the first time.
Have they with suicide also, or no either? That might have been. Those might have been the only two kind of big universal topics or forms of abuse that.
Yeah, I
haven't
don't think
been
that's been
right?
touched on either.
It's interesting. That's a neat observation.
Yeah, but I mean, that bathtub scene was incredible. Like, Zoe, what an incredible development in her character. Like, I didn't get where they were going when she started getting sick when they were walking. I really didn't see where all of that was going. But I loved the way they did it.
I loved how Kevin started getting heated because he'd been tiptoeing.
Absolutely, and rightly
walking
so.
on glass with her for a long time to just not make her feel uncomfortable or just, not make things go too fast because she kind of gave off that impression of, hey, slow down.
Right.
But he started to get angry, and it's like, oh, well, that's a good escape, Zoe. Yeah, go ahead, say you're sick. You want to go back to the hotel room. He's gotten built up, and then out of nowhere, she throws up. Do you think she's pregnant?
See, that was my first thought. That really was my first thought, but it was the bad, wasn't it? Maybe it is a pregnancy. Maybe it is. That was literally my first thought. When she vomited, I'm like, oh, she's pregnant.
Right?
Which would be a very, very cool storyline.
Yeah.
Having Kevin be a dad.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be incredible.
Is it crazy that I could see him being an amazing dad, though?
Absolutely.
An amazing dad.
Well, you see the way he is with Randall's kids. And I think they've even touched on that in the past about how he would be a great dad.
Yeah.
I think it's incredible how Zoe is very Jack and how she's very reserved and not really all about sharing her past. Now granted, she's opening up a lot more, but it's interesting how the dynamic of seeing Jack being like that and then seeing Zoe like that.
Yeah. I never really thought about it or looked at it in that way, but that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think Kevin and Zoe are going to last?
I hope so. Can I at least say that? I really hope so.
I hope so, too.
I see it progressing that way, especially after yesterday's episode where he's not holding anything back. It's not even, there's a difference between, I like you and I love you. There's a big difference, but even to say I'm falling in love with you is
And I love that she said it back.
Thank you. I was literally about to say that. The fact that she's just listening to all of it, letting it sink in, and she goes, before she even says it back, doesn't even interrupt him, doesn't say anything, goes ahead and lays it out and tells him about her past and her father and about how he has still to date been trying to reach out to make amends and she's just not having it, goes into saying that, leads into saying, he's already ruined so much in my life. I'm not going to let him ruin this because I think I'm in love with you too.
Falling
in love.
Yeah.
I was like, the wording, the road following into it, I was like, oh my God, beautifully said, beautifully written, bravo. I loved that scene.
All that being said,
scene.
I don't know if they're going to last. They are
really?
just seeing Kevin trying to deal with all this realness. He's very immature in his emotions and how he deals with stuff, and he's very superficial.
I don't know if I'd say he's immature. I would say he's impulsive.
Well, yeah, but just seeing, I don't know. I think he's borderline immature in how he deals with stuff.
Do you think, if that's what you're standing by, do you think it's maybe because of lack of experience?
Possibly.
Because he hadn't really been in a long-term
absolutely
relationship,
I
with
just
the exception of that girl from college, and then he really messed that up.
The girl from high school?
Was it college, high school?
High school?
Yeah.
Speaking of messing it up. Yeah, I mean, just seeing the way he deals with everything, I'm like, and she is like the exact opposite, which might be the saving grace.
Could be.
Yeah, because she's a very smart, strong woman, and he's kind of the opposite of that. So I think they kind of equal each other out, but it's just going to be a question of whether she can stick with it and deal with it.
Yeah.
And if he can grow up a little bit. I think that's what we're going to deal with.
He's embracing a lot of different things or challenges with her as well, because you see him really kind of take her in with arms wide open, and she's not really having it. And I can tell you from previous experience, from being in a relationship, that there was so much for me to be thankful for. My first boyfriend, he was great in so many ways, very loving, very open, and encouraged me or us to be open, to then, since that, kind of dating, stuff like that, and talking or going on dates or being exposed to other people that are extremely closed and shy, it's not easy.
No, it isn't.
It's not easy at all, because that's kind of, I see a lot, I'm so not like Kevin, but on certain things very much so, where he at first wasn't that open, but when he really likes someone, really sees the longevity in a situation, in a relationship, you want to give everything, but you're reserved because you see the other person is being reserved too. And it's like, well, crap, like, am I going to just be a completely open box? Because I don't think that's fair to yourself either, but maybe I think that just has to do with one's past.
Yeah, but I think,
you know,
I think it's almost, I don't want to say mission, a challenge for
It is
him, because
it absolutely is a challenge.
remember that actress that was very reserved
Oh,
too,
yeah.
and he was all about, like, let's go, let's move into this, and I think he brought her over for like Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner.
I gotta say this though, there's a difference with that. I think he was more like wooed by her, and I don't think she was so much reserved. She didn't want to settle down and wanted options, and that's what eventually made him be like, yeah, okay. And then, therefore, her too. She wasn't so much reserved. She was more of like, I'm a free spirit.
Yeah, but I honestly think that just looking at the way he's dealt with everything, he's very quick to jump in and throw everything into it and kind of move fast. That's kind of what we've seen in every quote-unquote relationship that
I see where you're going
he's
with
been
this.
dealing
Yeah.
with. We also saw Jack's PTSD, which is insane and so real. Like the champagne bottle popping.
And how he goes to cover.
Yeah, because he's
Rebecca.
dealing with all the flashbacks from Vietnam. And it's crazy because
Yeah.
I've got a friend who was in the war, and he's told me that he deals with a lot of the same stuff. Like New Year's Eve, he has to literally hide under covers. He can't be around fireworks because it's just the sounds of the popping. Like any kind of fireworks, he can't be around because it just brings back so
Yeah.
many memories of the
Even
war.
after years later, because Vietnam's been. God. That was.
Yeah, try to figure that out. You could see it in YouTube, her scratching her head, but I don't think you could smell the burning of her brain.
Can you see or feel the heavy rolling of my eyes too? Because I know you can see it.
But I mean, it's true. Could you imagine being in a situation where you are always literally looking over your back, always hearing gunshots, no matter what it is, and then having to come back into real life and like have that instilled in you?
I think unless if you've been through it, you've lived it, you'll never really understand. And in real time, like not just This Is Us, that is why I have so much respect for veterans or any military that has fought. It does something to you. My dad was in the Vietnam War as well. My brother was in the Marines, or as they say, you're always a Marine, but in the Marines, he was sent out to the mission in Somalia back in the early 90s, which was not easy or not a good time. And he, to date, he's in his 40s. There are certain things he still can't talk about.
Yeah.
And his wife, who's my
imagine.
sister-in-law, will tell me, like, your brother is a great man, but damn it, he is so stubborn and set on certain things and how certain things should be done, and his tolerance for certain things, which you might think might not correlate to anything, but for him, they do. It's not easy adapting.
Yeah, and having to transition. That's why they talk
Yeah.
about how many people have issues when they come back and have to get back into real life and
Yeah.
how hard it is to deal with that.
Transition.
Absolutely. So seeing Jack, I mean, again, Milo's character development, the way he's acting it out is unbelievable.
Switching real quickly to now his brother, Nick.
Yes.
What do you think happened there?
No
Do you
idea.
think the war did it to him? Do you know where I'm going at with this? Why he is rebellious as all get out.
Yeah, and what happened that
can't
he
even
was
stand the sight of Jack towards the very end where he's like, he finally, who I think it was his lieutenant, allows him to come into the troop with his brother, and he's like, flips out on him, won't even look at him, gets
like, "You
dropped
should've
off the
left me."
helicopter. Should have freaking left me to rot and die. I'm
Yeah.
like, yikes.
Yeah, and I really think it's just a case of him being in a situation that's completely opposite, as we learn from the characters,
Yeah.
that's completely opposite from the way he is,
Who he is.
and not having to deal with that. I'm interested to hear what he did to be placed in the position that he was in.
Right.
I'm interested for that. I also didn't know.
What exact position was that again? I
Well,
think they said it.
Yeah,
but
that I forget the actual terminology, but he did something that was against the rules. That
Yeah.
I'm interested to know what that
that
is.
was.
Yeah.
I think they'll develop that. I hope so.
And also, I didn't know that brothers can't be in the same platoon.
If that actually
that's
is
true?
real and true, I didn't know that.
I mean, it
either.
wouldn't surprise me because the way he talked about it, he's like, you don't want to have to, write multiple letters to the same, or however he said it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm like, that's a very good point.
Right.
I could totally. I don't know if that's something
Yeah.
that, if it was back then, if it still carries on now. But that
I
was
don't
very
know.
interesting. I mean, just that's why I'm loving like these backstories. Like, there's so much depth in Vietnam, in Rebecca and Jack early on, where we barely
Yeah.
saw. Besides, why am I forgetting his name? Jesus, Kevin.
Kevin?
Holy brain fart. Besides Kevin being in the episode, that was really it. I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't see any of the other characters. And I
Right.
love it.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of
There's
gives
so
a
much-
break.
There's so much there. There's so much there. And it's funny because even the tie-in with Kevin and Zoe still has to do with Vietnam.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
still
all
oh, it's
all
incredible.
about it. Yeah, but
next week is Thanksgiving, and they're gonna have like I guess everybody comes over and they're gonna touch on past Thanksgiving because you see a lot of the past characters coming back into it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be here, so
Where are you going?
I'm going to my brother's in South Carolina.
Oh.
So
well,
in-
we'll be in the Carolinas because I'll be in North.
Are you gonna be in North Carolina?
Yeah.
No crap.
Yeah, I'll
We should do like something like the Carolinas podcast.
Yes!
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
When are you going?
I'm going from Wednesday to Monday.
Oh, so we're not even going to be on the roads at the same time. I'm going
not?
on Tuesday and most likely coming back either Thursday or Friday. So,
Oh,
but that would have been
gosh.
awesome if we were
That
like taking the
would've
same
been-
trip.
That would have been really cool.
So there
Gosh,
will
that's a
not be
quick
an
trip,
episode next week of the Totally Spoiled podcast, but we will recap it.
That
The following one will recap 2 episodes.
Yes.
So that's why you got to make sure to subscribe and follow the Totally Spoiled podcast so you see when it pops up there.
There you
At
go.
Brian Fink, at April on air. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for being part of the Totally Spoiled podcast.